Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Need Some Introduction. I'm your host, Victor, and on this podcast, we watch and recommend something for you, usually a week-to-week TV series, and provide some camaraderie and context along the way. In today's episode, Darren and I will be breaking down the third episode of Mobland, the Paramount Plus TV series, an episode called Plan B. Plan B is not activated in this particular episode, but perhaps we'll be seeing it in subsequent episodes. The usual show notes. Reach out to us with your feedback. needsomeintroduction@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on your podcatchers of choice or on YouTube so you get notifications when our episodes become available. Recommend this to any of your friends and family that might be listening to any of these shows or watching any of these shows so they can listen along. And of course, catch up on our recent season finales, The White Lotus, Severance, and other current coverage. Your Friends and Neighbors, the new John Hamm Apple TV Plus series, which got off to a great start last week and appears like it's going to be maybe the water cooler show of the season. And of course, I just recently dropped an episode where I walked through this current season of Black Mirror. So if you are a fan of those or of dystopian sci-fi series, this is probably the most popular of the current batch. So check that out on Netflix and listen to my episode breaking that down. In this current episode as well, Darren did start watching that season of Black Mirror, and we discuss it here later in the episode. Check the show notes if you want to move around from one topic or another, and let's get into the conversation. All right, Darren. So I wanted to talk today about Mobland, episode 3, called Plan B. I have some news about next week on the podcast. I know you're going on vacation, Darren. Darren, I'm going on vacation next week also. So.
Good timing.
Right. So we were planning to cover the first 3 episodes of Andor, which we won't be covering next week, the 2.5 hours of Andor. So I guess the following week, we're going to be talking about 5 hours of Andor. We'll see.
I think we can do it.
It might be better.
I'm a bit gutted. I'm a bit gutted that I'm going away when Andor comes out, but I'll be catching up on it when I'm back in mobile coverage zone or streaming coverage zone. But yeah, I'm going camping.
Oh, you're camping. Okay, see, I'll be able to watch too. We'll be in hotels and such. We're going down south to Georgia and then South Carolina. So we'll definitely be have cable. But yeah, you'll have a lot of catching up to do once you get back home. And a couple of things here on the podcast. First of all, we just started covering Your Friends and Neighbors. Did you watch the first 2 episodes of that by chance, Darren?
Yeah, I did. Really enjoyed it. Didn't realize how big of a John Hamm fan my wife was, but yeah, she's mad for it. So
I think in this show especially, it's like this is showing him in his best light for sure. So since Bad Men, he's kind of tried to lean away from the type of role that he excels in, and here's him just leaning right into it. They're currently shooting season 2 of the show. James Marsden has joined the cast as a regular character. So I guess he's not in Paradise season 2, which is currently shooting also, by the way. So we'll have these 2 shows pretty quickly hot on our heels. Oh, but I want to mention, by the way, that apparently I had a gut instinct that this would just be a good show to cover. Everybody has Apple TV Plus because of Severance. And we're talking about The White Lotus, which thematically has a lot of overlap. I'm like, this just seems like it's the right show at the right time. And apparently I was right, Darren, because our downloads on this show have been great. Basically the best downloads we've ever had for any show.
Oh, wow.
So
that's
people
epic.
All really, really want to see John Hamm in this role, apparently. You're not alone. Not doing so well with the downloads, I have to say, is I did earlier this week do a breakdown of the current season of Black Mirror. And immediately after I published the episode, the platform that we published through basically broke down and something weird happened. Oh. And so just letting people know, I just wanted to make an announcement here that if you were waiting for the Black Mirror episode, it is out there. So do look for it in the feed. It's the very previous episode to this one. But I feel like people may not have gotten notifications because the pattern doesn't fit with our usual downloads. But maybe people just didn't want to hear that episode. But if you did, I'm just letting you know that it's out there.
I caught it, and I've listened to it up to where I've watched Black Mirror, which is only the first episode.
Yes. Yeah, and there are spoilers there for sure. So do watch. Maybe people just haven't finished binging it. Overall, was really satisfied with the season. I think it's one of the best seasons of the show. There's only one episode that really I think is premiere peak Black Mirror, but all of them were good, which I've rarely said about the recent seasons of that show. So let's get into Mobland. Plan B, by the way, this is the name of the episode. We pick up directly after last week, of course. Darren, before we get into any kind of plot breakdown, how are you feeling about this show at this moment?
Yeah, good question. To be honest, I like this episode the most out of the three so far. It's a different director for this one. I didn't catch his name, but I thought it was more stylish and more, I don't know, more straightforward, and it suited the style of the show more than the Guy Ritchie episodes. There was little touches like little reflections of Maeve in the room when she's talking to Conrad, and other like little stylistic touches, which I really appreciated. And I really enjoyed this episode, to be honest.
Yeah, I liked it. I have some problems. Maybe we'll see this for final thoughts here, but I have kind of a general unease with where the story's going, and whether it's going somewhere that I find that satisfying. But I did agree that here, at least, we have a real plot mechanism here, that obviously there is this murder of the Stevenson boy Tommy, and Eddie. Now we discovered for sure that Eddie is the killer, although not the disposer of the body.
Did we discover that? I feel like he still.
You still think that's ambiguous? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it feels like they've said, yep, he's done it, but he doesn't actually admit what happened. I feel like there's a greater mystery of actually what happened, but I don't know.
But then why would that guy be lying about it? Well, I mean, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I guess he may not be lying, now that we're just talking about it, because he may have disposed of the body on the instruction, but he was dead, stabbed many times when he arrived, right? So yeah, that's a good point, that maybe he wasn't the actual killer.
Because he doesn't say, that Valjean guy, he doesn't say that he saw Eddie stab him.
Right.
He said he rocked up and he's been stabbed 50 or 60 times. Yeah.
Right. He was dead, but he just got there to dispose of the body. Maeve, by the way, has emerged as like a truly demented person. The way that like everyone's just like, if this is true, and you make a very good point, because I assumed that he wasn't the killer. Reading this episode, I was seeing it as pretty clear that he was, but you do make a very good point that why wouldn't he just fess up at this point if that was the case? I think maybe there is still more to be explored there. But of course, if he did do this, he has put the family in the crosshairs and endangered everybody. And Maeve just thinks that's just so wonderful.
She's the White Queen, baby.
Yeah, she is, but I mean, holy cow! Like, this is insane. Like, that this kid gets no reprimandation of over anything he does is pretty astonishing. And then we wonder why this kid's such a brat. So when the episode kicks off, by the way, Kevin's house has been blown up. Obviously, the Stevensons are serious. I assume they're going to keep this mob war going. I actually worry that maybe even in episode 3 at this point, we would already see that, they start whacking everybody. And this might be the end of the line for this rivalry between these two gangs. Because I have to say that Richie Stevenson, the actor and the character, is like my favorite character in the show. Like when he's on screen and he's mourning his son, or he's trying to be all tough, and then when everybody leaves, he actually cries a little bit before he starts interrogating. I thought that was all great because I really related to him. And I have to say that, especially when I'm seeing the Conrad character and the Maeve character, I don't relate to those characters at all. I'm like, this is what is their thought process at this point, right? And maybe they will be fleshed out in more detail, but I still have serious problems with those two characters. So I really liked having Richie like ground the story somewhat.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I said that from the very start. I mean, he's so good on screen. And not only can you relate to him, he feels like he's part of this gang. He could be a gangster in real life. Just he's got the face for it. He's got the attitude, the voice. The voice just sounds so gravelly and horrible. I'm on board with that as well. But
the Stevensons are taking this seriously, and they blow up Kevin's house. don't kill anybody. I don't think, right? Nobody died. No one was in the house at the time, not even their staff,
Yeah,
I guess.
coincidence. A bit of a coincidence. Do you think that no one was
True.
there? Mm.
Well, there's a bigger. We have to talk about the end point here because they thought Archie was the grass, as they called him. They thought he was the turncoat, but obviously there's leaking going on, and it's not Archie. And they know everything. They know everything. They know where the bodies are buried, literally, right?
So every episode has ended with a shot of a dead body, I think.
Yes.
Archie twice. I looked up grass. So grass,
Yes.
it is rhyming slang. So rhyming slang for a copper in England is grasshopper. So grass is like related to the police. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I had not made that connection. I was thinking snake in the grass. We did get an email from someone from Ireland, by the way. I didn't forward it your way, but he was mentioning that, that grass was indeed slang out there, and also helping me with some of my Irish pronunciation, which is I have serious problems trying to pronounce those Irish names. But yes, so that's interesting. I had never thought about the grasshopper copper combination. So
yeah, it feels like anything that you don't understand from Britain or Ireland, it's rhyming slang. So they've invented a way to combine words.
And this is another really good episode for Tom Hardy. I like when he shows up there to evacuate his own family. I really got so annoyed by everybody in the show every single time that it's like a life and death situation and you're trying to convince the person to like walk out of the house before the bomb goes off. It's like, just get in the car. I know that, to their credit, I know that he is not being up and up with them saying that actually we have to leave right now because our house might blow up. So he probably doesn't want to say that to his daughter, who probably has her issues with him, just teenage daughters will have, period, much less when your dad's a gangster who's threatening your life constantly, inadvertently. But I did like the way he handles this whole situation with the guys outside. He knows who they are. He has Conrad on the phone. He doesn't have a gun, but he's like, hey, you know what? I know I know where your girlfriend is. I know where your parents live. So if anything happens to my family, hey, bad things happen to your family too.
Yeah, so good. And I've said it before, that's where the show really shines, is when Tom Hardy is doing his thing and convincing people that killing him or doing things his way is the way to go. I also liked when he took his family to a friend of his, an old friend of his, who apparently owes him plenty of money.
Who's actually a journalist, right? Is a journalist, but owes he has a lot of gambling dets. So he's probably just this regular guy who's like, yeah, you could stay on my boat and watch out for the kittens.
Yeah. Now he's like, yeah, see, honey, to his daughter, they've got kittens.
They've got kittens.
As if that's a great thing.
Exactly. He's a little sociopathic, by the way. He is way too calm. Maybe he's been down this road 100 times, possibly, but he is like way too calm considering that his family is obviously endangered. Kevin's house has literally been blown up, and he's just like, yeah, make a little holiday out of it. I definitely want to talk about the way that Eddie gets questioned by his dad and the way everybody treats Eddie and the many different perspectives people have on Eddie and what that means to his character. Before we get to that, of course, the Bella storyline continues to evolve. You touched on some of this. She makes an aggressive move on Harry after inviting him to a hotel where she obviously is setting things up where potentially he can make a move if he wants to. I assume has no interest in this, or I mean, he may be interested, but he's not going to make this move because he has this loyalty to Kevin, which may explain all of this. Like, why is he even in this situation at all? I have to assume that it's not because he thinks these people are making good life choices. I think that maybe it's some loyalty to Kevin. And we do see another flashback of Kevin being beaten, right, while he's watching him in that reformatory school. But Bella, turns out she tried to entrap her father.
That's what it seemed like, didn't it? Filmed her dad for the benefit of this French guy, Antoine. But then she says that Antoine is kind of double-crossed her and is trying to get money out of her at the end of the episode. And I don't quite believe her. I'm not quite sure where this story is going yet and how it all fits in.
I mean, the setup is pretty strange. that she apparently is trying to blackmail or trying to get her dad to make this offer on camera to assist this
Mm.
Antoine character as some way to have leverage on him. But now she's saying to Harry that he has taken the footage and is actually going to present it to the father to tell him that she's untrustworthy.
Okay, right.
So
Okay.
now she needs to pay him off to keep that from happening. All of that seems pretty contrived, considering she's trying to frame her dad, but then she doesn't want her dad to know that she's the one who's doing the framing. Or I guess maybe not until not until she succeeds in getting some kind of leverage on him. And maybe that's thematically one thing that we're seeing here. All these women who have these terrible relationships with their father. So maybe we're seeing that Harry, is doing the bare minimum to keep his daughter from being murdered, of course. But maybe she's just going to be another woman in the future who has an absolutely horrible relationship with her father.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other daughter on the show is Serafina, who's
Yeah.
Conrad's illegitimate daughter or daughter from a stripper or
Something like that.
from,
If we
of
believe
ill
Maeve at
repute
all.
from back in the day. Yeah. And she actually seems like she's got a positive relationship with her father. So not sure how that plays into it all.
Yeah, she actually gives it to Maeve there too, where Maeve says, "You were married into the family. I actually have Harrigan blood."
That's right. Yeah, she says that she has actually got the blood. That's funny. And still a bit of the Succession vibe is still continuing through.
They bring up the younger brother, the the idiotic younger brother yet again, who apparently has been trying to make some business moves. But it's interesting that Conrad actually seems a little interested in it because he's like, we need to actually diversify into legitimate businesses. But I have a feeling that whatever that is, we're being set up here that it's not going to go well. And whoever they go into business with is probably, not going to get a good end of that deal either.
Mm.
Yeah, and then we have Eddie, who's being questioned by his dad by cattle prod. And more of that, please. This kid is like, needs to be smacked around. He's not been smacked around enough in his life, for sure. But yeah, what do you think about this whole situation? You've actually given me a deeper perspective on him in that maybe all of this is somewhat of a performance, although he definitely likes to stab people, but maybe he didn't stab Tommy specifically. It's so weird, the fact that everyone's afraid almost to touch him, but then Harry is not like, don't you dare touch my grandson. They actually let Harry have kind of free reign. The whole dynamic is very interesting. The parents won't reprimand. And by the way, speaking of the parents, I like the fact when Harry's actually talking to Bella about him, and she's just like, how's he doing? It's like she's so not involved with him. It's the dynamic there is very strange with Eddie in general. What do you think about all these different interactions?
It is very strange. He's just not doing anything
Right.
at the moment. He's just there. I think there's a deeper relationship between him and his father, Kevin. Now, I think Kevin is involved in a little bit more. I mean, he's in the flashback. So Kevin and Harry are together from way back, but I'm just a bit sus on Kevin, and I'm not sure how his relationship with Eddie is going. Yeah, he stabs him with the cattle prod. Big deal. I think they might be together, or I think everything's kind of revolving around Kevin somehow, and I don't think he's being truthful. Just the fact they weren't in their house when it got blown up.
Easy, that's a good point.
Straight away during that the confrontation with Valjean in the shipping container, the first one.
Yeah,
I just thought he was kind of playing it up, berating Eddie. Obviously, getting him with the cattle prod's a bit harsh, but so I'm not getting anything from Eddie at the moment. He's really not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
But I think there's something more with Kevin. And then when they went back into the shipping container to convince this Valjean guy for the story, which is just absolutely incredible, I'm just not believing it. To be honest, I want to talk about Kevin a little bit more than Eddie, he's just kind of wafting around.
Yeah, I didn't get that many, as much of that vibe, but you make a really good point that Kevin's not in the house when the bomb goes off. I was a little suspicious of him earlier. I think maybe in the first episode, I called that out. Like maybe there's something else going on there with Kevin. And I had kind of dropped that thread in this episode, I guess, because there's a lot of plot in this particular episode. And he did seem to be convincing, for me anyway, convincingly mad at Eddie, being like, you started this war. But it would be interesting what you're saying, because what are the possible suspects of people who would have so much insider knowledge that were in the room when Archie got shot and know where the body's buried? Like the number one suspect there would be Harry himself. And obviously it's not Harry. So who else would know all of those details and be leaking to the police and maybe coordinating all of this activity? I actually suspected Bella, but now that Bella's asking for her own bailout, I think she might be over her head. You could, if there wasn't a specific scene, if she was just going to Harry, you might be like, this is all a manipulation. But she seemed to be very upset when she didn't get to keep the purse after that meeting. I do believe that is what's actually happening there. So then what does that leave? It's not Bella who's pulling these strings. It's not Maeve. Maeve is so obviously she's doing everything right in everyone's faces. I don't think she's going behind anyone's back, and she would not go to the cops anyway. So I do wonder if it's Kevin who's maybe making a play. If he takes the family down and then using Eddie as, that would be really messed up if he's using Eddie as a prop in this plan.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. And also the fact that Kevin and Harry go back so far,
right?
That he's going to have to break that trust that they've built up to kind of double cross him at the end, which will make Harry feel like he's going to have to do something about his oldest friend potentially.
He also might feel that if Harry becomes the fixer for this whole entire situation, if Harry's loyalty is always to Kevin, then that would be actually interesting dramatically.
Yes.
That if he has to make a choice to protect this family, who he might think of, I think that the show is showing us overtly that most of these people are pretty crap, and or betray his friend for these people who probably don't really deserve any of his loyalty. They probably care very little for him other than what he can do for them, and betray his friend for them or not. And maybe Kevin is relying on that when the last shoe drops, that will expect that Harry's going to be loyal to him. So that could be an interesting direction for the show to go in for sure.
Yeah, what did you think about the flashback?
Yeah, I mean, so we see that Harry is watching, right, while Kevin is being beaten. Yeah, I think that's, we're seeing again that there is this strong bond between them, probably because of this shared abused history that they have.
There's a deeper story of when they were together in this prison or boys' jail or something. And Harry sees the ex-prison guard in the
right.
Yes,
when
home.
He goes to that. Yes.
So I'm very much looking forward to what is going to happen with those two.
Yeah, he's going to show up there and torture this guy in some way, wheel him out into the courtyard, and who knows what he'll do to him. He is like a frail old man. Yeah.
And there'll also be a space for his cleaner's mother.
That's right. There's an opening right there. Exactly.
By the way, absolutely loved the way he dealt with the manager of the old person's home.
Yes.
And the plumber. Yeah, I've got a friend like this. If you've got a plumbing emergency or something, you've broken a window, you just call this guy. He's like, yep, I've got someone. He just give him a call. I've got a number. So obviously Harry is connected with all these tradies and can get someone there within the hour, which is, it's always good to know.
Yeah, we have a friend in the neighborhood who flipped the house right next to us, and he flips multiple houses in this area, and he also owns a restaurant. So he has connections with, for any repair you need, any assistance you need. He's got hookups. He knows all these people from flipping their houses and such. So like you said, he's connected everywhere. He's got a restaurant reservation at the drop of a hat. Nice. He's all connected everywhere. It shows you that Harry is a tough guy, but he's primarily a problem fixer, right? So that what he's there to do is he doesn't have to intimidate these women. He can get what he wants without intimidating them. So he just does that. And it costs him nothing, right? He already has someone who owes him a favor. They come here and make this repair. And all of a sudden, you're at the front of the line, right? And he knows how this works. And then, of course, they owe him a favor too down the line. So that's how the system works. This is how this process works.
Yeah, it's so great. And I just love Harry walking around and not necessarily needing to go to violence to get what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. He's there to solve these problems. And of course, the big fix he comes up with this episode when everyone's like, we're going to war. We're going to have to plan B, of course, was to have a hit list to kill off the entire heads of the family, unless he can come up with a workaround. And the workaround, of course, as you already mentioned, was threatening this guy and his family into taking the fall for this whole entire killing of Tommy. Now, how do you think this is going to play out? Because Richie Stevenson does not seem like a moron. And it's not like he gets angry and shoots this guy in the head and says, thanks for bringing him to me. He's like, I'm going to question this guy very thoroughly. And I'm not sure this guy's going to hold up under questioning. They may not yet be out of the woods here.
I mean, it's a nightmare for this guy, isn't it? I mean, he's already
this guy's got a rough day.
Been questioned for many, many hours, and he looks like the way he does. He's not. There's going to be much more injuries to him in the very near future, and it's just horrible to think about. But how could you hold your story under this amount of brutality that we assume is going to happen? I don't know. All he has to think about is the health and well-being of his family and his children. But Richie could turn around and threaten him with the same thing. So, yeah, I'd be very worried if I was Harry right now.
Yeah, I think that this is just a temporary reprieve. I don't think that it's going to hold up. And Harry seems to understand that as well, because what's this guy's story going to be? He's going to start getting some details wrong. That was a complicated set of activities that night. If he gets one detail wrong, like you said, he's going to be like, I can kill your wife and children. And by the way, buddy, you're dead. You are not going to survive this, so you're not going to get that out of this if you want to protect the people around you. So why wouldn't he tell the truth? Like, it's what does he get by, protecting Harry here at this point, right? I'm not sure he's going to hold his story. They may need to resort to plan B after all.
What's plan B again? Killing everybody.
Well, killing everybody. Exactly. Killing them all off. That's Maeve's plan. That's always Maeve's plan. But why don't we just kill them?
Yeah, that's her plan A.
Actually, I guess her plan B was not to kill all of them, right? I should actually correct that. They begin in the sauna. They begin with the kill them all. That's Conrad's plan. Her plan actually was to kill the wife or threaten to kill the wife. But then, of course, he says, well, then Maeve, that would make you the next target, the next logical target. And she's like, I'm always the target.
And I don't think we've met his wife, have we yet?
Oh, no, we didn't we? Remember, she was like,
she's young.
Yeah, she's young. Yeah, exactly.
Quite young. Yeah, that's right. Oh, she doesn't seem like she's got that much power. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, he when she was nagging him, he seemed to do what she said. So
that's true.
We all live that life. No, just kidding. Harry, he's got pressure coming from him from all sides here. The marriage is falling apart. The Stevensons are trying to murder them all. That story's probably not going to hold up. Eddie, even if they cover this up, when's Eddie going to screw up again, put himself in the crosshairs again? Maeve is trying to instigate a gang war, so probably wants this to go tits up just so she can have her. She's like gleefully waiting for this war to break out and the bodies to start piling up. And meanwhile, the cops are tailing him. He shakes off the cops, but I mean, he's probably got some DNA on Archie's body, and they know where Archie's body is. And it won't take long to find out who put Archie's body in that casket. He's got knives coming at him from all sides. Bella actually says to him, why do you do this? Like, why are you loyal to these disloyal monsters? She actually calls them. And he says that we're all monsters. So what do you think about this mentality he has that it doesn't matter who he works for because they're all equally bad. I don't know. I'm not sure I would want to work for these folks.
They are pretty bad. I guess it goes back to some bond that him and Kevin have, or something that he's connected to this family somehow.
Right.
That he feels like he needs this to survive or to earn money or to live or to. He's bound somehow. Just as an aside, I don't know if Audi has the sponsorship for this show, but there's some glorious looking shots of his Audi that he drives around when they swap cars, and it's in every episode. It looks impeccable, this car. And the ending shot is pretty brutal with Archie sharing a coffin with some poor old person.
Speaking of stylish shots, I actually thought that was a really beautiful shot in its own, grim way. It's like something out of like a vampire movie or something when they dig up the body and the two corpses inside of there.
Very striking, yes.
You make a good point. The loyalty to Kevin is probably what's driving him here, because I just think from my perspective, I look at Harry, who's not, he probably could work for one of these other gangs or just do some other kind of work. He could just be a consultant or something, because he seems to know how to solve problems efficiently, not always violently, by the way. So he seems to like have his head on really straight and be really experienced. And he could probably work for one of these other gangs themselves. And you think about this family, and I look at how erratic they are. How have these people not all been murdered at this point? They do not seem to be thinking about their own self-preservation when they make most of these decisions. So I don't know. Like, I think that Harry is probably not smart to stick with this family, but that's why I do agree that it's probably some loyalty, probably to Kevin at this point. Given those flashbacks, I think we are looking at Kevin as this where this relationship with his family began.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And the show's called Mobland. I thought there would be more gangs, more mobs, or I don't know. It just feels like it's a little bit small at the moment. So they're going to need to start unwrapping these little mysteries or expanding the universe a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's my critique as well. The story feels very small and not that original, given where we're at now. And then we have these little side digressions, like, is the Bella storyline with her dad really going to tie into the rest of this? And it might be, like, maybe that is how the Harrigans get to transition into getting that money into like the legitimate businesses through this blackmailing of a political figure. So there are ways that this could go. But right now, like you said, it's this beef between two different heads. The kid got into trouble. Like, once again, like, I don't know if we haven't seen this before. What the elevates it for the most part is it's well made. And the acting for most of the characters is good, well done. Harry, of course, always, whenever Tom Hardy's on screen, always entertaining. And we will not be back next week to discuss this the next episode. We'll have to do a lot of catching up to do. You'll have 6 hours of Andor and 2 hours of Mobland, and somewhere along the way we'll have episodes to cover all of that. And I'll probably pre-record something to put out next week, just to have something in the feed. I don't know what that is yet. Maybe it will be that adult animation episode I was talking about.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, okay. I started watching Common Side Effects. So
what'd you think of that? How do you like it so far?
It's cool. It's very cool. These characters are really fun, especially the two cops.
Yes,
where they're always group. There's always music going on, and they're always grooving or like miming to the music. They're just fantastic. I don't know if that would work as a live action, because they're just so cool. And also the lead guy, the kind of stoner, just like slacker guy, has a lot more depth than I thought he would be, just by looking at his image. I don't know where it's going yet. I think I've seen maybe 3 or 4, but I do appreciate the nods to Scavenger's Reign and how this mushroom has cool properties that let you become one with nature and heal you. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, the mystery of the mushroom and the themes of the kind of this communal mind share that the people who take the mushrooms start to have. It starts to become way more psychedelic, but still grounded in these very goofy central characters. The last episode of this season is incredible. It's so action packed, and it pays off all these characters, that many characters that some of them you haven't even been introduced to yet. So it's really excellent season of show, and really happy that they're coming back for a second season. I watched the first episode after I heard some really positive reviews, and I was like, I don't know if I'm really vibing with this, especially as an enormous fan of Scavenger's Reign. I wasn't getting enough of that in this, but it's really satisfying by the time you get to the end of that first season. So you're about halfway through or so. It gets just better. The last 4 or 5 episodes are fantastic.
Cool.
And I'll be breaking that down in some and many other adult animated series that wrapped up recently. Invincible, for one, which also had an excellent season finale of this 3rd season. Have you seen any of Invincible, by the way?
No, I haven't done that one.
Okay, it's based on a comic book from the writer of The Walking Dead. It is a deconstruction of comic book stories. Seth Rogen, one of the producers of the show. So it has some of that vibe of The Boys, as well as kind of deconstructing the mythology. And I think, honestly, more successful than The Boys. So if you do like The Boys and you haven't watched that and you're not allergic to the animated style, this is an incredibly popular show, by the way. It had its finale the same week as Severance, and Severance had a huge season finale. And episode of Invincible, the finale, had more viewers than the Severance. So it's a bigger hit than Severance, as big as that is. And of course, neither one of them are as big as Reacher. Reacher was even much bigger, like twice as big, basically. Okay, let's talk about Black Mirror. We are going to discuss and spoil just the first episode of the show. If you want to get my opinion of all the other episodes, then, like I mentioned, there's a episode in the feed. I break them all down, and also a little history on the show up until this point, and also in the back catalog, an episode where I discuss the previous seasons of the show. I've seen the entire 6 episodes. I thought they were all good. I thought one of the strongest ones was the first one, but I have some negative things to say about this, and I'll mention that my wife also watched the first episode because she loved the eulogy episode. The one with Paul Giamatti in it, which was the highlight of the season for me as well. She loved it. So then she started watching from the start. And I'm like, oh, the first one's really good. And she was like, you like that? So she had a different contrarian opinion on that one. This episode was called...
it's called Common People, I think.
Common People, of course, yes. What'd you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really liked it, actually. My wife liked it as well. The only negative about it was the ending, to be honest.
Yes, exactly.
I also picked, when they were doing the subscription model, when they signed up
yes.
to this, I'm like, well, they're going to change this because that's what they always do, these streamers or whatever they are. And they're going to introduce an ad tier, which happened.
That was hilarious.
So,
yeah.
Pretty fun to pick that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. I really enjoyed the actors. I thought it was approachable for the most part. I mean, you know how fearful I am of when I press play on a Black Mirror. I don't know what's going to happen, and I might be questioning my life's choices by the end of it. I was fine with this one. I enjoyed the actors, and I enjoyed the style. It was very approachable for the most part. Can we talk about the ending?
Yeah, we are going to spoil this episode if you haven't seen it yet. But before you get to the ending, so just to set it up a little bit, so you have Rashida Jones, who wrote Nosedive, by the way, one of the best episodes of.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and she also wrote Toy Story 4, I think it was. She wrote with Charlie Brooker, by the way. Brooker has written all these either solo or with somebody. For example, that I've already said this before, but Your Entire History of You, that one where you can like replay all your memories, was written by Jesse. What's his name?
That was a really good episode.
Creator of Succession, wrote that with Brooker. And I would say not always, Jesse Armstrong, exactly. Not in every case, but I think that in general, my opinion is I seem to prefer, maybe not prefer the episodes that are written with somebody else, but I think that the ideas are better explored when he has a co-writer. When he doesn't, the stories oftentimes are a little like the ideas, even when really interesting, are not as well explored. So maybe he needs somebody to bounce ideas off of. But anyway, I think that's why Nosedive is so successful, because it fully explores that concept in a very entertaining way. And I think for most of this episode, this idea that the Rashida Jones character married to Chris O'Dowd's character, they are very sweet together. They have great chemistry. I always think Chris O'Dowd's so entertaining in general.
So good.
And they have this very sweet romance. They seem to be happy, childless, a young couple. And she has a brain tumor that's inoperable, but there's a new technology that can basically fill the gap in her brain that's left by the surgery. And then they can basically transplant that section of her brain, map it into a computer, and then stream it into this chip she has in her mind. And of course, as you already outlined, that it turns out it's not that expensive. The surgery is free. You don't have to pay for the surgery, and you just have to pay this monthly fee. And then, of course, you get more and more restrictions on those monthly fees. If you want these really cool features, like being able to tune your own emotions and these kind of upgrades, you have to pay more. Eventually, they're just working exclusively to maintain, ever dwindling pleasures in their lives. And then we get to the end.
And of course, you're going to pay for this subscription.
I mean, you're not going to lose your
partner.
Kill your
You've
partner.
got no choice.
Exactly.
And the fact that you can't go on holiday because you're geo-restricted.
Yes, very funny.
The fact that they are common people. They've got every person jobs. Right. And it's heartbreaking that they work their asses off just to get this lowest tier, or just the one above the common people tier. It's heartbreaking.
I mean, of course, there's also this like Twitch-like platform, and there are people who have Twitch channels where they go and embarrass themselves in public for money and live stream constantly. But this version of it, of course, is just self-abuse and getting paid for it. And this is the way he makes the extra money to pay for her subscription service. And that's dark enough. But in the end, she is basically sleeping all the time because she's only paying for this lower tier. He can't work anymore, obviously. Their bills are piling up. He's doing more and more humiliating things to earn money. He loses his job. And of course, there's like really no way out. She wants to die. And he saves up some money to give her just half an hour of this upgraded plan, because you could buy these hourly packages. And she gets to tune her pleasure all the way up and basically have just this half hour with him, full serenity. And then when it wears out, she's like, just kill me. And he, smothers her under a pillow. And it's absolutely devastatingly bleak. And worse than that is that then he goes onto this Dum-Dums platform with a cutter. Is this the deal he made, that he has to kill himself on camera to make this little bit of money?
Yeah. That whole corner of the internet I've not discovered, and but I'm sure it's out there. I didn't like that bit. I didn't understand it. I didn't know where it was going. But the actual dialing her mood up to peaceful, and the ritual killing of her made sense to me, and I thought it was beautiful. I didn't think it was miserable, or as you described it to me, aggressive misery. I think that
yes,
the whole first episode was, which really made me want to watch it. I thought it was a beautiful ending to her, because it was the only way to go, really.
I was okay with her in that moment. With her, I thought that worked. That made sense for me. Yeah.
But then him going into the room with the box cutter, I don't know what they were trying to say, because who cares if he kills himself on camera? You're getting money, you can't use it. So I went to a bit of a darker place where he was just going to torture himself for money to pay all these bills to keep on living. But yeah, I think it was a bit ambiguous, and it didn't really satisfy me.
I assume he's killing himself there at the end. And it was only after the fact, maybe when my wife watched it after me, that I thought about the alternative where he's just performing this, because I agree. Like, so what is he doing? Like, when he says he got a private buyer that would pay for this, half hour for her, that wouldn't be that much money for such a short period of time. It's not like he bought her a month of time. He bought her just this little bit of time so that he would kill himself on camera. Doesn't, you'd figure he'd, charge a lot more money for that. Alternatively, if he's going to continue to torture himself on camera for cash, not for nothing, but now that she is dead, he won't have this money he has to keep paying, so he can go get like a regular job somewhere and not be dealing with the extra financial burden, and be tending to her all the time. So I mean, just being practical, and this is basically my critique of some of these more cynical ones. It doesn't add to the theme, like and I said this in my solo episode, there is a very bleak ending you can make that would be, for me, way more interesting. The idea that, think about it, if you only have these people who are dying of brain cancer or had some kind of car accident where they lost a part of their brain function, this is a very small pool of people that you can charge this to. Imagine you can charge it to anybody who wants to have like the app that lets them change their mood whenever they want. And then these people who have the brain injury, who are outsourcing their brain activity for those people, that's how they pay those bills. And now they want those services too. So maybe it almost becomes like a metaphor for going on OnlyFans and doing whatever, whether it's humiliate yourself or do some other kind of, activities to earn money just to maintain this now heightened lifestyle, right? That makes them more complicit in this rather than just being like, yeah, this company's just going to keep squeezing you until you commit suicide. That's terrible for your business model, because those people are your customers that you're killing off. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense once you poke at it just a little bit. But everything, until it got to that really cynical at the end, I thought it was really smart. I like that idea that you're continuously paying for upgrades. And like I said, I think the more interesting version of it is, imagine like, oh, just pay a little bit more, and now you can boost your confidence, boost your, your serenity, make yourself more sensitive, right? You're physically sensitive, like your pleasure centers get activated. People would pay for that, right? And even if they didn't have brain damage. So that's the more interesting version of the story for me, is making the FOMO to make you complicit in this.
I agree. That's way more interesting. And just the fact that the subscription, when he first asks about it, she's like, oh, it's cheaper than you think.
Right.
And that's always how they get you with all of these new subscription models. It's like, oh, it's only $8 a month. Great. In a year, it's 12, and then it goes up and up and up, and they restrict your access, and then they add ads, which I loved the way that the ads were put into the conversation, and that they suited the situation that she was in. That was just really well done. And another one of these ideas that these tech companies think of and sneak into our lives, and sometimes they work, but most of the times we're just like, where did this come from? Why is this happening to me? Why am I getting this pop-up, or why am I getting shown this? Yeah, I don't own a new car, but it seems like cars now are coming with subscription add-ons that you need to get heated seats, or to get the extra added benefits, which it's all there in the software. It's just whether you pay for it to get it turned on. Yeah, it's sinister.
It really is. And of course, the irony, of course, that this is all on Netflix. And it made me think about this. And of course, Netflix has done this, right? Where your original fee, now that's the commercial, that's the one with the commercials on it. And then you have to pay a higher fee to, have no ads. And then like, oh, unlimited devices. Well, actually only 6 devices. But if you pay more, oh, you know what? This is, the new season of Squid Game is all in ultra high def. But only if you are on the higher tier, then you get regular definition, right? It's all right in there. And so it's kind of biting the hand that feeds them, which is entertaining as well. That was, it's one of the better episodes of the season. Unfortunately, like I said, soured me. I definitely knocked down at least half a star by that, sourness of the ending, and really taking the idea in really one of the least interesting directions they could have gone in. But still a good episode. And all the other episodes this season are hit and miss, mostly hits. Even the weakest ones have interesting ideas in them, well explored. But Eulogy, so track that one down when you get a chance, is excellent. The Paul Giamatti episode.
Okay, good. Yeah, looking forward to that.
And that USS Callister, it's all fan service, but it's a fun episode. It's a huge episode, by the way, not only in length, but special effects, the sets. It's a really impressive. It's an hour and a half long. It's like a feature length film, and they've spent money on it for sure.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I caught up on the first USS Callister a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
so I'm primed for that one. Does it have Jesse Plemons in it again?
Well, that might be a spoiler.
Or is that a spoiler? Okay, don't do it.
The fact that maybe the way I answered that may have given it away already.
Yeah, I assumed it does. Who's the actress?
Christine Milioti.
Yeah, she's so good. She's excellent in everything I see her in.
Did you see her in Penguin this year?
I did. Yeah, she's the shining light of the Penguin. I thought.
Yeah, she's having
get
quite
through it otherwise.
Yeah, true. I agree. I actually like the Penguin, but she is really what made that work. And did you see the Pitt? Did you see the finale of the?
No, I haven't done my homework. So it's all going to pile up in the next few weeks.
Those are 15 episodes of show. I mean, you definitely should watch it, but it's the type of thing that now that it's done and you kind of missed the moment, the cultural moment, you could just watch one if you wanted to start from the start and literally watch it like an old season of ER. Just put one on every week or so and just walk through it. It's really so pleasurable. I love that show. And there's nothing like, oh my God. And then at the end, the hospital collapses and kills everybody. Like there's no crazy twist at the end. It literally is a very quiet ending. Like they have this incredibly chaotic, the shift finally comes to an end. They're past the end of their shift. The other shift members have already shown up. They like help them bail out of this disaster they were in. And then you see it's like kind of the system just starts to flow again and they start checking patients in and everything quiets down and they all kind of sit outside in the park across the street and drink together. It's like this ritual they have. So it's just like kind of the end of this crazy shift. And of course, these kids, it was their first shift. And one of the doctors even starts laughing at one point going like, I just remembered this is your first shift. He goes, don't worry, kids. Every day of work after this is going to be better than this one. So
that's incredible.
But it's
what a big sleep you'd need after all that.
Oh my God. Can't imagine. Yeah. As a matter of fact,
I wonder what the turnaround is.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. There's one of the doctors is on like an adrenaline high and she wants to keep working even on the other shift. And she goes, where do you need me? Where do you need me? And the other shift workers are like, I need you to go home right now and get some sleep. I'm handing off to you at 2:00 in the morning. So go to bed. You're on an adrenaline high right now. And of course she's like, no, I'm good. I'm ready to go. And then 10 minutes later, she's in the bathroom having an emotional breakdown after the end of the day. So, people deal with trauma in different ways. She apparently was on some kind of adrenaline high. But yeah, if anyone hasn't caught up on that, it's just excellent. Apparently, people have caught up on it. It's become a huge success. That's also coming back for season 2. Season 2 of that show is going to take place during Christmas holiday. So it'll be interesting to see one crazy Christmas night at this hospital. So a lot of good TV, amazing, by the way, in production currently. We have Paradise currently shooting. We have Day of the Jackal shooting. We have The Agency. The whole cast of The Agency was just doing a Q&A recently, and they're about to go into production with the next season of the show. The Last of Us, if you're a fan of that show, a short season this year of 7 episodes, but there's going to be a 13-episode season, which is currently shooting for next year. Severance is supposed to start shooting soon. Your Friends and Neighbors currently shooting their second season already. So towards the end of this year, early next year, this could be jam-packed with good TV shows. The Pitt, amazing, of course, another season of The Pitt.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
that's so good.
After like a horrible year last year with the writer's strike, we're gonna get an onslaught of good content. So, all right, Darren, thanks again for the conversation, and do check out a couple more episodes of Black Mirror. I don't know when we'll discuss them, to be honest, because we have to talk about 25 hours of Andor and a couple hours of Mobland, 2 or 3 hours, whenever we get around to that also. But once again, next week I will not be here. Friday, you'll still have an episode of Your Friends and Neighbors. Mm-hmm. Episode 3, we'll have that recap on Friday, Sona and I. Next week, I'll put something that I'm recording. It's another one of my monologue episodes. I'll put something in the feed. Then the following week, we'll catch up on the 4th and 5th episode of Your Friends and Neighbors. We'll catch up on Mobland. We'll start talking about Andor. Maybe we'll talk about the end of Daredevil. Oh, I don't know. There's so many things to talk about. It's crazy. So.
Huge.
It's huge.
Well, enjoy your break, mate.
And you too. Enjoy your camping trip.
Cheers. All right. Thanks, Victor.
All right. Thanks. Take care.